Are we live?
Yay!
We are live. Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome, Nona. Welcome, everybody. We are going to chit chat for just a minute here while everybody joins in. So we've got Nona here today. She is a marketing strategist and the co-founder of Good Harvest Marketing. Nona, tell me, what do you like to do in the summer? Like, what are you looking forward to this summer?
What I'm looking forward to this summer is going to Greece. Yeah.
That is going to be really exciting.
Yes.
What cities?
We are going to be on the island of Crete in a town called Hania.
Nice.
And I've never been to Crete before, been to other islands, but I'm very excited about this one.
Oh my gosh, that is going to be gorgeous. Is that a good time to go in the summer?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah, it's peak season for them. The water is amazing. And it is hot as Hades where I am. So I'm ready to go.
Oh, right. So it'll actually be a little bit cooler. Nice. Nice. Okay, so I think we can kind of dive in a little bit here and get started. So Nona, tell us about your background and how did you get into marketing for interior designers specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is varied, chapters of this book. And I would say I started marketing. It first started with public relations. That's actually how I ended up here in Tucson, was a job offer, working for an agency. And then I started working with interior designers in the industry about, it's like 7-8 years now. And it started when I connected with a successful interior designer. And it's funny, is at the time she was looking for someone to be a design assistant and a marketing assistant. And I shared with her that I just wanted to do the marketing. And that was a relationship that was very fruitful and one I'm very grateful for, and lasted for, a number of years. And through her, then I met other designers and started to work one-on-one with them. And then they would know a designer and connect me and doing one-on-one. And it became clear that in order to really connect with more designers and not have it just be so selective or such a smaller, you had to know a designer who I'd worked with, stepped forward and launched Good Harvest Marketing as it is today.
Nice. Love that. So today we are talking about, ideal and affluent clients.
Yes.
But what does that actually mean? How can we define that?
Ooh, I love this topic. Love it. And I'm so grateful to be here with you today. I just want to make sure to thank you for that too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so affluent, right? Affluent, wealth. There are two definitions or multiple definitions, but really the idea of having enough wealth to then be able to invest in interior design and in bigger projects, to be able to really manifest what they want because they have the means to make it happen, right? And then ideal client, someone who has a lot of money and is out of town. No, I'm just kidding. I had a designer once tell me that was her ideal client, which I really love.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love it.
When it comes to, so there's affluent clients, and I think that especially in the industry, there's a real understanding, that word is used, and most people or most designers have an image of what that looks like. It's the ideal client part that can sometimes get a little muddy because there are all kinds of money. There are all kinds of people with money. So when it comes to finding the ideal client, it's really understanding and getting deeper past the idea of wealth, past the idea of being away, past the idea of it just being about the project, but bringing it into who these clients are and how they are a fit for a designer.
Okay, interesting. So it's about the fit. Do you feel like that's in terms of how you like to work, like what kind of people you vibe with. I mean, sometimes that can get into even personality, right? Like if you have a sense of humor and you actually love working with other people that have a sense of humor, it brightens your day. Like, what are some of those like elements that make that fit?
It's 100%. It is. It's about who the person is, what makes them tick. Is it? Yeah, I love the vibing, because if you have a sense of humor and you work with, and then your clients are very sort of like dour or intense,
Yeah.
then it's just like can be terrible, right? Even if the project, like all it's a big juicy project and that's all wonderful. If you just dread having to deal with them, it just sucks all the joy and all the fun out of being creative, out of being a designer, out of owning your own business. And yeah, it's about the person.
Right. Absolutely. So I think in some ways it's like an affluent and an ideal client can overlap, but in some ways it could also be separate too. Like it could be kind of separate strategies that you use to like, you know, like attract affluent versus like affluent and ideal. So let's talk about kind of the affluent thing for a minute here, because obviously if you are attracting clients that they don't actually want or are able to like pay for your services, like what are some struggles that designers have with even like getting to that level of attracting affluent clients? Like what are some mistakes that designers might be making that is keeping them continually attracting people who actually can't like pay for this service at the at the level that they want to charge?
Oh boy, right? There's so many layers to this one. One of the things is to consider when it comes to, yes, and affluent clients and ideal clients, they can be separate and they can also be together. So to answer this question related to if you're putting yourself out there and you keep attracting like tire kickers, are those who really love HGTV and think that like everything's done in like a minute or like a 30 minute skit. Look at what you're putting out there. Like affluent clients, they have one resource that they cannot renew, they cannot buy, and that is time. I bring this up because if you position yourself as an interior designer as budget, or you can do, you try to be everything to everyone, right? As Iris Apfel says so well, if you try to be everything to everyone, you'll end up nothing to no one. So, so by trying to put that out there about essentially, I can do anything for anyone, well, then you're not doing it for anyone. If you're putting out that I'm for budgets, well, affluent clients, the money they can always get more of. So it's not about money. It's about how do you make their life easier? How do you help them achieve their goal and ensure that the resource that they cannot get more of, which is time, you're going to help make the most of it. That's probably like one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do designers make good on that? Like, how do they share that? Is that really about having like an excellent like process that you've got like defined on your website and you show like how your process saves them time, and like how do you clarify that all of that you will be that person?
Absolutely. So I'll share the process that when I work with designers, this is what we go through, right? And all right, all the designers who are watching or who are with us right now, I want you to imagine the word process in a snow globe, and I want you to shake it up. Okay, like I want you to just like shake up a lot of what you think, so you can let it all sort of fall in a new place, right? Because when it comes to a process, and specifically attracting ideal clients and attracting your ideal ones, it comes down to like 4 to 7 steps. And the first is that you really need to understand who your ideal clients are. So understand them, understand the way they think, understand what motivates them, understands what problems they have, understand what goals they have in a very deep way. Because once you have an understanding of who they are, how they think, what's important to them, right? Whatever the problem that they have or the desire, the goal that they want, then you can start to really identify how you are the designer for them. Once those two pieces are in place, then you communicate that. So, the difference between, like, you talked about having a process or working out the process on the website, the first step is they want to know that you understand them and how to solve their problem. When you have that out there, when you have it on your website, when you are able to share that that's what you do, when you're meeting someone that on social media, wherever it is or wherever you are, right? What happens is then when your ideal clients hear about you, meet you, find you online, it's all congruent to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the rest of the process, and so it's really like that, and then communicating it. And the like additional 3, if you will, is nurturing relationships. But that is another that is another topic of conversation.
Yeah, that is okay. Got it. So let's use like social media as an example. So like, what are some ways that a designer can, communicate that? Like, I guess, part of that depends on like their niche and their specialization, right? Like and when you're talking about ideal clients, like, do you recommend that designers have it like, pretty like a tight niche? Like there's some designers that focus on, nurseries for working
Mhm.
moms. Like, do you think there's a lot of value in having a very specific niche, or do you think that people can, use this strategy of like, speaking to your ideal clients, even if it feels like their ideal client is actually really broad? Like, what if they feel like their ideal client is anybody with money? Like, how
Oh,
do you, right?
well,
So maybe
okay.
the question is, what should the ideal client actually be?
Yeah. No, I love that, right? Because that is actually one thing to avoid. Because if you're just going for money,
Yeah.
there's this painful reality. There's all kinds of money out there. Some
Yeah.
of it is old money, salt of the earth.
Mm.
They feel this sense of responsibility to community, to be leaders, to really sort of usher in future generations. Then
Mhm.
there's new money, or and their priorities are more about making sure that they look the part, that they are in line with what everyone else is going on. um I worked with a designer once, and in her project, the clients refused to buy a rug for their new home.
Hmm.
Refused, because they were like, well, we're just gonna walk on it. She's like, oh, please, it's like, I'll find something, like it'll be like $1,000. They're like, no, no, no. But they did spend, I think, like $5,000 on a surfboard, a Chanel surfboard for art, because then they could take selfies in front of it and anyone who came into their house. Two different kinds of clients, two different realities, right? They
Right.
both
Okay.
have money, but the way you're going to connect, the way you're going to work with them, what their priorities are, how they're going to spend their budget or invest in it, like in their project,
Mhm.
totally different. So to come back to your question, yeah, the identifying who they are, and then really, yeah, making it very clear that that's who you work for, or work with, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you love nurseries, yeah, be about it. Because I know some designers who would rather walk into a wall than have to deal with with a nursery, right?
Yeah.
And it's not wrong, it's not bad, it's just different.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I love the priorities piece. That makes a lot of sense. And then that would also affect, like, if you're putting on social media some like sample mood boards or sharing products that you love, like that would change, what you choose, right? If it's going to be something really like kind of out there and avant-garde and artistic versus something that's like, this piece of wood furniture will last for like 200 years. You know what I mean? Like like authentic or like heritage based, type of design work. So anyhow, I could see how like the priority could be used in so many different ways to like inspire so much of your marketing. Can you think of any other, like a couple other things that, like, would you go into demographics? Like when trying to find this person, do you go into demographic? Like, let's say we've got their priorities. What are some other things that would just, if a designer was clear on that it would inspire and clarify so much of their marketing?
Yes, it's the demographics, right? So here's one of my favorite examples. Two clients, prospects, both born in 1948, both from the UK, both married twice, both wealthy, both live in a castle, right? That's the demographics. Those are the sort of facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The psychographics. One client, one prospect is Prince Charles. The other one is Ozzy Osbourne. So like not only the design, the relationship, right, all of it is going to be very different because you're going to get to your point, right? There's the demographics and the psychographics, who they are. And for some designers, they would love the idea of royalty, all the finery and the details and the history, and right. And others with Ozzy Osbourne, they're like, oh, I will make this room feel like a jungle, right? Like it's just, and that's the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is like interest based too. It's like, what are their interests and what is their, style?
And what are their priorities?
Yeah. Cool. I love that. Okay. So let's move on to, maybe marketing strategies, campaigns, channels. What are some of your favorite ways to market for interior designers, whether that's like, a campaign type or a mix of different types of content across channels that can work together? Like, what should designers be doing?
Ooh, yeah. You said a couple of things that just like bells are ringing. One of the first thing is, so anything that you create content wise, to really maximize it. So to ensure that you're going to make the absolute most of it. Mm-hmm. So taking it to this idea of, let's say you, and all of you out there, do not cringe. Let's say you write a blog, right? Or you have a recent project. That's where we're going to start. You have a recent project and you get amazing photography of it, right? So you write a blog and you write about who, like, really who the clients were, what the challenges were, the problems you solved, and then ding, here it is, right? Mm-hmm. To then use that in a newsletter and in social media and really just squeeze the juice out of it. And so when I say social media, I mean, there are so many layers there, right? And if you know who your ideal clients are, then you'll know which platform they're going to be on, right? Because let's say you do, like, your ideal clients are in their 50s or 60s. One thing to consider in a sense of relief is that they're probably not on TikTok. So, right. So in working through how to make the most and use this material that you're creating in your marketing, look at what channels they are on and then put it there and make it connect with them where they are.
Yeah. And don't worry about the rest.
Yeah. And say it's a really beautiful cycle, because when you are focused, when a designer is focused on who they want to work with, That's when the who, what, where, when, why all comes together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then it makes it, then when you hear things happening in the industry as a designer, and especially if you own your own business, then you can bump it against your ideal clients and say, oh, you know what? That actually isn't necessary. My clients aren't there. I'm not going to connect with them there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it's going to work for other designers, but I'm going to put more of my energy into sending out, a newsletter, of going to specific events, throwing parties for some of my favorite clients,
Ooh, nice. That's a good one. I love that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really like just using that ideal client as your guiding light for everything, like not just how you communicate, but where you communicate and what you decide to dive into. I love that. So another question is coming to my mind. Before we hop into Q&A, we will get to Q&A in just a few minutes. But I'm curious. Uh-oh. I talked in the middle of my question and lost it. No, here it goes. It came back. I'm curious, what are some of the weaknesses that you feel like interior designers tend to have? Because I feel like with any kind of, subset of business owners, say some might be like way too data driven and they just can't use their intuition at all. Like, what do you feel like with interior designers? Do you see like just any weaknesses that they tend to have in marketing? And what are some of the things that you're needing to resolve over and over with the clients that you work with and encourage them to do?
Yeah. Oh, and this is where I love designers. So it touches me like my heart, because one of the things is the sense of that the creativity, what their projects, what they're putting together, that will be enough to bring in clients. And then sort of the heartbreak that can happen, that no matter how amazing a project is, that there aren't more clients behind it. And that being featured in a magazine. So this has happened a number of times with the clients we've worked with, where they've been featured in Lux, right? In national magazines. They've been on the cover. They had that bright light on them. And they thought, well, that's enough. I'm good. Now all the clients will flood to me. And the painful reality that unless you are marketing, unless you are staying top of mind, unless you are actively nurturing relationships with the kinds of clients and contacts you want, that bright light doesn't bring in clients, and it can sort of steal the thunder or steal the excitement. Even though what it takes is just this support of being out there, of being active, of knowing who you want to connect with, and then taking those actions, because clients, God bless them, they are busy thinking about themselves. They are busy thinking about their own problems and about their own lives. And unless you are able to show, like, I can solve your problem, I know how to make this vision of yours a reality. Hey, like in a very and also not in a nudge, not in a annoying way, but in a way that cultivates sincerity and relationships and positions the designer as the designer, the only person they're going to go to.
I love that. So obviously, the exact channels and methods can depend based on the ideal audience, but in general, what would you say would be the top 3 ways that a designer would continue to, do their marketing, be top of mind? Would you say it's the social media channel that they're on plus an email list plus networking? Or what would you say are the top 3 to 5 things that designers should use to keep that train moving forward?
Keep it going.
Yeah.
With the interior design industry and the business being the way it is, it's trusted referrals. The majority, once you have your ideal client, then they know other ideal clients, and then it just continues. So the top 3, oh, you put me so on the spot because it all works together. So it's definitely, it is nurturing. So emails, cards, going to events, being sincere, like cultivating, right? So nurturing, oh, okay. Nurturing, making your website work for you so that it is easy. So one, they understand when your ideal clients go to your website, it's very clear you're talking to them. You're not talking to anyone. You're talking to them. And then you make it very easy for them to connect with you.
Okay. Yep.
So we'll say newsletter for networking, right? Website so that it's easy. Yep. And then for the third, so hard and fast. I know this has to be hard and fast. And I always think of the individual, right? Because I think of the designer who loves being on social media, right? So then there's that. And then I think of the one who abhors it and cannot pay someone enough money to do it for them. Right. So somewhere in between, I want to say events, like actually meeting people. And I want to clarify too. It's not necessarily a BNI group. It's not necessarily a industry group. It's this combination because as designers, as long as you know your ideal client. So for example, if you love photography and your ideal clients, they want curated spaces, by joining a group or going to a lecture or doing something along those lines, your paths are going to cross in one way or another.
Yeah, so brilliant. I live like in a small kind of hippie artist town. And so there's like so many like art events, so yeah, just going and kind of meeting, or even like wine events, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, get a little more creative with it and think, where do they actually go? And just meeting more people in your area.
Yes, and that you enjoy, that fills your cup up, that you're replenished by putting your energy into it. Because then you see each other, you connect, and sometimes it's not like a 1-for-1. And I do. So hear me clearly, please. It's not like go to an event and be like, "Hi, I do interior design." Like with the idea of getting business. It's more about going, filling up your cup, enjoying it, having a sincere or authentic connection with someone else there, because maybe they are your client, maybe they're not. Maybe they know your client. And that referral from a trusted person, your ideal client, they're going to listen to the people they trust. Ding.
Yep. Yep. Before we hop to Q&A, I just want to ask one question about this, referral concept. Do you ever recommend that designers like incentivize their clients in a way of like a referral fee or anything like that? Or if a client does give them a referral and it turns into business, send them flowers or a gift basket. Do you recommend any of that, or just, just say thank you and yeah?
100% in the acknowledgement category. For designers, when you find a champion, someone who just, for anyone who will listen, they want to talk about how amazing and how talented you are, and how if you just bought a new home or you're thinking about renovating, you have to talk to so-and-so. The reciprocity is necessary. The reciprocity of acknowledging that they are one of your champions, and understanding them is really important, because for some, money, they would be like, oh, this is like, I did this because I love you and because I want you to succeed. Like that wouldn't feel right.
Strange, yeah.
But a beautiful bouquet from an artisan florist. Oh, they
Yeah.
would, it's not only would it make them feel good, it would remind them of why they want to keep doing it.
Love it.
And that's, I guess for me right today in particular, everything is this circle, this cycle, this again, reciprocity of giving and receiving and then growing.
I love it. Yay. Okay. Snap. So we're going to move to Q&A. We're going to fire things off with a very nice
drink of water
question. Yeah, get ready. Get ready. So our first question is, what steps could I implement today to attract the right clients to my social media?
The first steps that you could implement today is to find out where your ideal clients actually are and then use that.
Yeah. What platform?
Yeah. So for example, I mean, and this is kind of a challenge, or it can be. Think about who you want to work with and then realize where they are. So you may love Instagram, like love it, right? But if your ideal clients do not use Instagram, you're not going to somehow be able to bring them in. So one of the things that you can do right now is have a good old, like, honest conversation with yourself about your ideal clients and where are they. And then you put your energy into those platforms, into connecting with them where they are.
I bet Twitter is very underutilized for design because there's a lot of professionals that are on Twitter and LinkedIn more than anything else.
Yeah. LinkedIn is not so secret weapon because affluent, right? Coming back to the theme, affluent clients, they have degrees, they have graduate degrees, they run their own businesses, they are connecting and they network. And the way that they do that when it comes to a social media platform, LinkedIn. Yeah. And when it comes to Twitter, because it has been in the news.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out what that looks like.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, there are a lot of the tech type of affluent people on Twitter. So yeah, that's a good one too. Okay, that's great. Let's see. Okay. One participant is asking, the worry as a beginner is I am not my clients. So how do I know where to find them? So it's like, how do they do the research to find out where they are?
Yeah, I get that. And I hear that because the industry is filled with a variety of people, and being creative is not necessarily associated with just like a socioeconomic background, right? So one of the things to do, how are you going to find them, is to start to, I'm saying this, is to study them. So in this moment, I so wish that we could make that question, like have that person join so I could ask more poignant questions.
Yeah.
Where are you going to start? Is to start, okay, let me see if I can try and walk through this. For that designer, one of the things that you want to do is you want to list out who they are. If you've worked with them, it's helpful because then you have some background and some insight. And I want to clarify that an ideal client it doesn't mean they're perfect. Nobody is perfect, not even a perfect stranger, right? They're human. So list out what were the things, what did they want? Why did they reach out to you? What were the keys that made them tick? Are they married? Do they travel? A lot of what the fabric of who they are. Get clear on that. And by starting there and having that picture, then to really start to dive into places where you may or may not have that clarity. A book for this designer to consider is Bobo's in Paradise. And that's David. Oh, I should have this prepared.
Okay. Bobo's in Paradise. Let's see.
Bobo's in Paradise. So for that designer, it was written. David, thank you, David Brooks. That book helps to really dive into more or less boomers, but in the 90s, to understand what makes them tick and why the idea of a ranch in Wyoming seems so idyllic. And for any of us who grew up in rural communities, knowing that like you have to milk a cow before you can go to school is not that romantic. But this book highlights why they think it is. And that helps to understand why they make decisions, why kitchens went from being these small rooms that only the help went into to now the massive centerpieces of American homes, because it wasn't always that way.
Interesting. Smart. I love that. Get into like the history and the reasons why. So our next question is, I've heard recommendations of being where your ideal clients are. For example, going to a gala with $1,000 ticket entrance. How do we find those events?
Oh, okay, cool. You want to spend $1,000 on a gala? We can do that. We can totally do that. So do they support, is it for a charity? Do they, is it for a children's hospital? Is it for a new museum or a new wing in the museum? Is it the way that you find them is through Google? And the way that you start, like, events is think about, and again, let me be frank. If you're spending $1,000 to go to an event that you don't have a passion for, it's not going to be as satisfying as if you do have a love and an intention behind it that is outside of just meeting your ideal clients. Because you might meet, like, who knows? Who knows who's going to be at that event, right? So the key for that is to line it up with your own interests as well. So for example, if you're going to spend $1,000, I'm kind of riffing on this, obviously, but if your ideal clients love to travel and you love to travel, then to consider looking at groups to go to Peru, to go to Niagara Falls, to go wherever, right? Yeah. If you have that ability, and to think about it as marketing, then yeah, you can do something in line with that. And I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. It's like grow your referral network with the kind of people that, you would want to be hanging out with anyways. And that also probably puts less pressure on it. Because if you do a high ticket thing and then you might, you know what I mean? You want to put pressure on it because you want it to be organic. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's see here. I've had 2 clients who were billionaires. We're talking yachts, helicopters, the works. They were the worst, cheapest clients I've ever had in my 16 years as a designer. They price shopped me, wouldn't pay for delivery fees despite the signed contract. The homes were completed, but I couldn't photograph them, which I understand. But it was just a horrible experience. I was professional, kind, did my job. I'm a formal real estate professional. So I'm used to working with affluent clients. And so they're asking, like, how do you kind of deal with the flip side of this, really?
Yeah. No, and I just want to acknowledge that. I am so sorry. Like it wasn't, it's what gives, it's what can really ruin the creativity and the passion. And I'm really sorry that you had that experience. And it is that money is not made equally. Like, not all money is made the same. It does not, the client is not all the same. I would, for this to, so I'm going to make sure to answer the question, because like I kind of want to go into, I want to go into the area of really listing out who those people were.
Mm-hmm.
So that designer can identify those red flags. A designer I worked with, and so it's sort of a related story, but the clients that she worked with, they would be helicoptered in, and it was on paper, $1 billion, right? Sort of in this similar vein. On paper, everything looked like it should have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And this designer hated it. And she was to the point where she was thinking about getting a whole new career. Because if these were the kinds of clients, if these were the people, they made her sick. Yikes. The way that they treated everyone, the way that they treated her. And she was professional. She got the job done, right? She knew it wasn't her, but boy, if this is what it meant, she wasn't going to do it anymore. And working together in the clarity and the ability to identify who she wanted to work with and who she didn't, it turned on a whole new light. So for this designer, I highly recommend looking at what like creating your red flags, your warning lists, and ensuring that you do have a solid process for vetting clients. Because when it comes to being a professional interior designer, right, they can't just buy you. You're not a commodity. Mm-hmm. Your ability to see a space and put it together is wholly unique to you, because no two designers are going to choose the exact same thing. So write out who they were. I'm going to guess they were also probably mean to their children. I don't know, actually. And they kicked puppy dogs, right? Like, I'm just going to list all those things out, and then ensure that in your process of vetting clients, when you first talk to them, your initial consultation, paid consultation, moving into then actually having them be a client, know that at any time, if any of these things come up, that you can just say no, thank you. And with grace, excuse yourself from that
right? Whole situation.
Yeah. Not my monkey, not my circus. I got to go. Like, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. And I really like the idea of actually writing this red flag list down. Like, actually, write it down, kind of break down what were some of those early signs that maybe concerned you, and you kind of were like, I'm just going to go for it anyways. And actually just write them down. I think that is going to be so useful. So yeah, this kind of plays into what we just talked about. If you attract someone that isn't your ideal client, would you decline to work with them? Yes, right?
Well, yeah. And it's funny is, so I would love to know how you're defining ideal client. Like, is it about the project? If it's about the person, yes. Deanna and I are on the same page. Yes. No, thank you. Right. If you really like the person, if you like really get along with them, and their project is outside of something you would normally do, but oh man, everything else seems to fall in place. Here's the beauty of it. You then get to decide. The power is yours. And when you make that decision from that place, then you get to move forward with confidence, with the ability to hold your frame as a professional, to keep your boundaries. And, and as they say, everything in this life, it is either for our pleasure or our education. So you either enjoy it or you learn from it. And then the next time, you have this new sort of ability to judge for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Very smart. Somebody's asking, how do you nurture relationships with followers / ideal clients on Instagram with private profiles? So maybe there's somebody that would be an ideal client based on who they're connected with, or maybe they follow you, but you can't go and engage with them on their profile. So then what do? My mind is going to, you know, having your like an email opt-in in your Instagram, but what are you thinking?
It's like we're connected. The key is to start the relationship offline in one way or another. You know, with Instagram and having a huge following, that helps with your social proof. That helps definitely, you know, your positioning.
Yeah.
When it comes to nurturing a relationship and having an actual relationship, it is then having the ability to connect with them in a new way. So to your point, a way to like to have something on your website, have an opt-in, offer the ability to connect, give them something that is worthwhile to them, and then start to nurture that relationship there.
Yeah.
It is healthy to remember that as intimate the relationship can be between client and designer, that it is still important to remember that it is a business relationship. Because when it comes down to it, you're the professional who will be telling them something they may or may not want to hear. And in that framework, the ones who respect you, they will recommend you to other friends who will respect you as a professional.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of an aside, but I would just want to sort of...
You don't have to get too personal on social media. It's like you need to kind of pull that traffic to something that is like, you know, for your business.
Yes. And this is also another chance, but it's to talk later in more depth. But to remember that on social media, and if Instagram changes its rules, if it gets bought by someone magically overnight, that it can feel like, and they decide that they're going to change everything, that following that you've built, unless you have the ability to contact them directly, could be lost.
Yep.
And I don't want to scare anyone. I do want to plant the seed that when you have the contact directly, that becomes your gold mine. That becomes the place where you can go and you can make those relationships on your own terms.
Yeah, love it. So make sure you're building up that CRM. Let's see. So another question is, what's the best way to ask for referrals from current and past clients? Like, do you wait for an ideal time, maybe during or after an engagement, that you might say, hey, like, is there anybody that you could refer me to? How do you approach directly asking?
A direct ask. A direct ask usually is best when those clients are riding that high. When like their lives have totally been changed, right? And that is a time. A direct ask can be a bit tricky. One thing, and this is what I recommend to the designers I work with, is to highlight that when you're describing yourself, which sounds like you know, a dating app, but your unique selling proposition, the way that your elevator speech, right?
Yeah.
To highlight that you are a referral based business.
Okay.
It's like things are going really well.
Yeah.
And being a referral based business, we love the clients that we're working with. That will plant the seed for them. And those who want to then share, again, those champions, those advocates, they're going to take note. Oh, bet. And then they're going to tell everyone, right? Sometimes with a direct ask, people will say, oh yeah, absolutely, I will. And then it won't happen. It's not because they don't want to, but because that may not be a natural thing that they do. So I'm going to make sure to answer the question. So usually like right after a project, when it's complete and they're happy, is a good time to mention, like if you're going to do a direct ask.
Yeah.
If you are sending, if you're keeping top of mind, you're having touches with them, meaning like with emails that actually get opened and read, that you can include it in there.
Okay.
That you're a referral-based business, and please forward this to anyone who you know has an ugly kitchen and is ready to fix it. Right? Like, depending on the designer, depending on your sense of humor, the way you communicate. Yeah.
Yeah.
To put it out that way.
Yeah, I love that. And just like reiterating that you're a referral-based business, so it's a little bit more subtle too. That's really smart. Let's see here. So let's say when you find the like social media platform that, you know, makes sense for you to use, like what's the first step to gain connections? Like, do you randomly find people and send friend requests? Like, how do you kind of get that, you know, initial traction?
Did they by chance give like a specific platform?
They didn't say a specific platform because, yeah, that's true. It's going to depend on the platform. Because with LinkedIn, you know, you could look for a certain location and look for a certain like job title. Like you could look for business owners within a certain city.
Yeah. And if you upload your list, they will find them directly. So
to
in a
upload your
former
email
life,
list.
yeah. Well, like in a former life, right? I was in the Air Force. So so in LinkedIn, I have a lot of connections from those who I served with, and they are all over. Right. So for a designer, depending on your background, and depending on if this is your for like second or third career, right? Or even your first, your email list, if you upload it into, I know LinkedIn, I think, you know, almost all of them, they'll start to serve you with people you actually already know. And what's nice is then you can actually decide which ones you want to connect with.
Right.
Right. And, you know, and there's more to it. So let me be frank, because it needs to be genuine. And if you want sincere, genuine relationships where you get to be yourself, you get to be authentic, that takes more than just like friending and then sending the same message to everyone. It doesn't have to take up all your time, because there are things to do that leverage your time, which is the most precious.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it's smart to start, like you said, with the initial like list of who you already know, because then like LinkedIn would, you know, show you suggested connections. So that would be something Facebook does too. Or so maybe it's not like random, but you're like looking to connect with people that you have multiple mutual connections with, because that could be a sign that, you know, they might be within the same circle or whatever.
But yes, and in that spirit, you know, if you're out, so I kind of want to like go through this thread. You go to the museum, you go to that gala, you go on that trip, right? Whatever platform you are using, because you understand your ideal clients, you understand you, meaning whether or not you want to be on social media, because it's not necessary, but right. Then you want to have a process for following up and nurturing that relationship. So you find them on LinkedIn, you send them a message. And with some of these platforms, they aggregate. So if you put something out and the person that you know likes it, it then shows it to everyone that they know.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Smart.
And then tagging me like the marketing, you know, kind of nerd wants to like dig down. So I'll stop there.
No, it's true. Especially like, LinkedIn will show, you know, like your comments to like people you're connected with. And so, that's true. It's an easy way to stay top of mind. So somebody's asking, does your website need to be general in its offer, or does it need to be specific to your ideal clients or your niche market? So maybe this person's kind of struggling with figuring out how general to be versus how specific to be.
Yes. And if you're still on, if you could clarify what you mean by offer.
True. Yeah, we don't know if that means like a service. A service or not.
Because that is something that is a challenge with designers. And if they add it, please just interrupt me. But if you're on your website, if you put yourself like put out your process, put out your services, have prices on it, you're naturally going to attract people who are price shopping, who think of interior design as a commodity, something that they can just buy. If your offer is the fact that you like to, or one of the things you enjoy is organizing along with interior design. So part of it is like your holistic experience of working with you is that you organize and renovate and do all these details. Then yeah, you want to put that in and you want to be specific that you do that. And not the process of it, but the fact that it's included. And that's a part of how you view the interior design experience of transforming, of changing someone's life. Right? So yeah, the more specific in that arena, yes. The more specific of like, step 1, we do this, step 2, we do that, step 3, no.
That's not helpful or not?
No, it's not. Because a prospect for interior design, they have their problem. They want to know that you can solve their problem. How you solve their problem, that's secondary.
Right.
We have this expression, to show people the baby, not tell them about the labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just that switch alone on a website, a designer, she did that. She made that change, finished making all those changes when we were working together, went to bed the next morning, had her ideal client had reached out to her, an email in her inbox. And when she connected with her, she said, oh, because you said it, I've been searching or researching interior designers in this area. You're the only one who mentioned this. And that's exactly what I need.
It's probably more aspirational too. Then they don't have to like worry so much about the process if it's not like shown too soon. Like they can just get excited, right? Because probably when a client is first going to reach out to an interior designer, like what they're going to feel is excitement, right? So you want to kind of cultivate like that emotion, like, you know, on their site.
Yeah, exactly. With affluent clients, there are usually 3 things that they need. 1, to know that you are professional. And they know that you're a professional because you have a process or like a system. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds of how this actually looks, but the process is you reach out to them and you make it easy. They want to know that you have experience, and they see that because of what you have on your website. And the 3rd is that they like you. And because you have a process of this first call and a paid initial consultation and then moving forward, as long as you're able to keep that, then they don't try to take it over. Now, again, this is another topic, but then they don't try to pull the reins from you or to then direct you. And to your point, yeah, they have a problem. And if you can excite them about just, this is the first step and then you get to solve it, gangbusters.
Love it. So to finish us out today, just one quick question, maybe quick, maybe not. How can designers help potential clients move over the line from following them, being nurtured, kind of engaging with their social or their email, to actually being ready to, you know, like ask for help and sign up? So like what sort, or not sign up, but, you know, do the discovery call, whatever it is. What sort of ways do you use, whether it's different calls to action or maybe like, you know, offering a free call? Like what kind of ways do you do to like take people to the next step?
I'll roll my sleeves up for this one. But the quickest way is exactly what you said. You need to have a call to action. If it's like, when you're ready, reach out to us. Don't hesitate to blank. No. When they are ready, they are ready. And if you have done, and it makes my heart like swell at the idea that a designer has done their due diligence of being specific, being authentic, nurturing the relationship, and staying top of mind, That when that client, when that prospect is ready to then take the next step, you have a clear call to action. And there's no other option out there. There's nothing else they need to do except take this very clear action. Book a call, schedule an appointment, just whatever your first step is. And then they do it.
Right. You got to just put that ask out there. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nona, so much for joining us. I love, some of the offline things that you talked about, the events and, like referrals. I think that is, much needed as we all kind of can focus a little bit too much on the online. So I think this was really a breath of fresh air to, keep us all remembering, the real humans, the IRL experiences, super, super important to remember. So we are getting a ton of thank yous. Great. Thank you. Thank you for this information, great information. Lots of thank yous in the comments. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And if I may, I just want to share that any designer, if any of this, you were like, man, I've either tried it or I don't understand it, or how do I do it better? To please, you can go to breakthroughcall.us.
Yes.
And you'll connect with me or someone on my team to help you really get that clarity of what that next step is for you.
Yes, and I put that in the chat as well. Thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot. I put that in the chat as well, breakthroughcall.us. So that is, the link is right there. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. What a pleasure.
Okay, awesome. Absolutely. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.